Hi, kitty cats. This past Tuesday was Election Day here in the United States, and after 10 months of acting like they were above retribution, conservatives were very soundly defeated. So voters clearly rejected candidates who continued to run campaigns similar to Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, which is to say, a decidedly anti-queer, anti-transgender message. Now, certainly, this does feel like a win. At least for those of us currently under attack by, anti-queer, anti-transgender messages. But does this really signal a change in American politics, or is it still business as usual in Washington, D.C.? Globally, we have a problem with politics and politicians. Lasting change, however, is going to require more than one election. It's going to require a different kind of candidate altogether. And then when I'm finished talking about how to save the world, we can jump back into the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood and see if we can save the coven. So, it's kind of funny. I'm looking at the comments here. First of all, hi Genevieve, hi Margie, hi Angela. I know not one of you is in the United States, so I hope this isn't boring to you. So I'm Dr. Amethyst Herrick. I am an author. I am a podcaster. I discuss identity and gender from a scientific standpoint. You can find more information about me and the work that I do at my website down below. That's purplepawclan.com. On my website, you can find me on social media. You can read my articles. You can view my podcasts. If you want to support my work, and I hope you do, you can get a subscription on the website for as little as $5 a month, but you can also just sign up for my free email newsletter to keep aware of what I'm up to. I would also love to publish your original work about identity and gender, so if you want to contribute, email me again, contact page on the website, which again, purplepawclan.com. All right, so I see Just Watching 833 joined. Hello, thank you so much for liking the live. I also see Miranda. Good to see you. Oh, Margie, that's right. I totally forgot. You are a U.S. citizen. Good point. Yeah, your vote in Utah might not be all that valuable, but might not be heard too loudly. And I do agree with this. So Margie says we absolutely must not ease off on progressive reform in the United States. I think globally. And I will talk more about that. So Margie says it shows that change can be made with determined effort. I think there's a lot to that. And that's kind of the whole thing I want to talk about today. Hi, Frybird. Frybird just joined. So what happened? Why am I bothering to talk today other than, apparently I also may appreciate listening to myself talk. This past Tuesday, so it was November 4th, 2025, it was Election Day, at least here in the U.S. Frybird says I have new hair. It's shorter now, yeah. Shorter and more layers. It's also a little bit still wet. So give it an hour and it'll be fluffier. But so anyway, Tuesday was Election Day, this past Tuesday. And in case you haven't noticed, politics has been a bit contentious here in the U.S. Conservatives took control of the House of Representatives, took control of the Senate, took control of the presidency. If you want to add to that, we have a Supreme Court that has been predominantly conservative for a while. It really looked like Republicans, at least if you were to think about November 6th, 2024, it really looked like Republicans could have a field day on the country and install some aspect of the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 as the law of the land. Which is to say, Project 2025 essentially is the attempt to make the United States a white Christian nationalist kind of country. So, or, I guess I would say at least, that's what conservatives assumed. I think they assumed if they run everything, they can do anything, and somehow, that whole idea of checks and balances, future elections, accountability, just got tossed out the window. No reason. Who cares about that kind of thing? It's been a shock and awe campaign on U.S. voters and U.S. people who don't vote, even. We're having executive orders that make really dramatic changes to people's lives that aren't even widely publicized. They're not even laws, and yet they make dramatic changes to people's lives. We've watched a tremendous amount of expansion of executive power, including reinterpreting laws, changing laws, and acting without any other branch knowing what's going on. Even usurping the purpose of other branches. Like, for instance, declaring war on certain places and approving military action. This is what we've seen. The abuse of power alone has been egregious enough. But I mentioned the Supreme Court is predominantly conservative. And they have backed Trump up in almost across the board. And it is clear that there are at least some members of Congress, Mike Johnson is certainly one of them, the Speaker of the House, who are working overtime to make the promises that Trump makes come true. Did that come out? To make the promises, the checks that Trump is writing, Mike Johnson's got to cash them. So at some point, however, the American public was, probably kind of bound to notice. We all get affected by the shenanigans going on in our government. And it isn't just us. I mean, and here's Miranda as well. So Miranda says she's optimistically and cautiously grateful to live in the U.S. But even so, Angela, I know, is in the UK. Margie's in New Zealand. Genevieve is in Canada. This doesn't just affect us. This is global. All of the shenanigans that have been going on, it's global. So this past Tuesday, Election Day, we the people got our chance to speak. And conservative candidates almost across the board were largely rejected. It's kind of fun. Today, what I want to talk about is what did happen in these elections, what I think that means short term, and what it could mean long term, and what it's really going to take to establish change. I'll talk about why I'm glad to see what happened, but I also want to say I know this is not the end of conservative politics as they stand today. And of course, finally, we've got to get back to Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. It's kind of funny. We just defined our platform for Leader of the Coven. It looks like we're campaigning until the vote happens. So it seemed pretty appropriate. Everything that's going on. All right, let me check comments. So, thank you. So you do like the new hair. Thank you. It's a little shorter than usually I go like chin length. So it's a little shorter. Thank you also for the gift. Gilead will not succeed. I wish I knew what that meant. But yeah, Mom Donnie. I'm going to talk about Mom Donnie. You'll see. All right, what else do we have on this side? Miranda's here. Margie says she's doing what she can in New Zealand to move politics left again in the election next year. Good thinking. So Margie mentions there's a 3-party right-wing coalition in power here. 3 parties. So I know that there's something to be said about more than 2 parties. Now, I am going to talk a little bit about that, but okay, here we go. Let me first talk about just a little bit what did happen in these elections. The little monster showed up. Oh, Nikki. Hi, Nikki. I don't know that I've ever seen you. Oh, I see it. Okay, Gilead. I'm sorry, folks. I haven't read The Handmaid's Tale. So Gilead is the country in The Handmaid's Tale. And Frybird says, we won't become a Margaret Atwood novel under my watch. Good point. That's for sure. All right, what happened in these elections? There were a few results of elections that speak very loudly, in a good way. I also spoke about this. I did a Transgender Joy video just last night, and I spoke about all 3 of the people I'm about to talk about, but I think they are really the really great examples of what's going on. Margie brought up that a transgender woman, where was it? I know you said somewhere. There was a trans, oh, here we go. So Margie says there was a trans woman elected as mayor in Pennsylvania. Yes! Erica, oh boy, cannot say her name to save my life. Erica Deuso, wow, won the election for mayor in a city called Downingtown, Pennsylvania. I want to set the scene on this just a bit. There are about 8,000 people in Downingtown. 8,000. Okay, it's not a big city. It is in a county called Chester County in Pennsylvania. If you look at the demographics here, it's largely white, it's largely Christian, it's largely lower class, lower to middle class, predominantly 30 to 50 years old. So we're talking, millennials into Gen X, so people who are working, not retired, things like this. Typically leans very Republican in presidential elections. And Erica DeUso, hey, I said it, Erica DeUso became the first openly transgender mayor in Pennsylvania. That's kind of impressive. Then if we look at Abigail Spanberger, it's another name that's a little tough for me, won the election for governor of Virginia. Now, if you don't know much about Virginia, it used to be very, very red, very, very conservative. By about 2008, it was becoming like a swing state. Last two elections, it's voted blue, not, really overwhelmingly. And here's what happened. For governor, I think I got a little lipstick on my teeth. Maybe I didn't. Spanberger's opponent, I figured I'll just tell you what I'm doing rather than make a funny face and have you go, what's going on over there? All right, so it was a swing state, typically very conservative state. Spanberger's opponent, somebody named Winsome Earl Sears, she spent over $2 million on anti-transgender advertisements. That was about 60%. 60% of her complete total budget. It's amazing. Spanberger. I'm sorry, Abigail. If you're watching, I truly apologize. Spanberger barely talked about gender issues at all. Like, it wasn't even a thing for her. She's not even remarkably liberal. She's sort of like a conservative Democrat, I would call her. And Spanberger became the first woman governor of Virginia on Tuesday. And finally, Freibert's bringing up Spanberger. I saw that. And then I stumbled. And then finally, we can look at Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani won the election for mayor of New York City. Now, New York City, I don't probably have to give a lot of demographics. NYC is obviously a very progressive place. Mamdani, however, calls himself a democratic socialist. So this is already kind of a big thing. He's also brown, and he's Muslim, and he's 34. Trump himself was campaigning against this guy. And yet, Mamdani became the first Muslim mayor of New York City, as well as the youngest mayor in over a century. It's 140 years, something like that. It's pretty amazing. So those are some of the results. These are pretty impressive looking results. I'm going to talk about why. Let me check. Let me check comments first. Yeah, so Freiberg, you heard about DeUso, cool. Little Monster, it's still there. Oh, Pearl Mania 5000. Pearl Mania 5000. What does that mean? Spanberger, yes. Mamdani, when Mamdani's victory speech, if you saw that, I mean, he is just on fire. He lights the whole place on fire. Really impressive person. Got to tell you, I know extremely little about his, all of the platform particulars. He is very charismatic and he is very caring. I think that's the bigger part. Let me see. What do we have on Margie's side? Oh my goodness. I'm just going to show this and read it because I'm like, that's a whole lot of numbers. Okay, so this is the right-wing coalition. They had a bill this year trying to undermine the Treaty of Waitangi. So this got 300,000 written submissions out of 5 million population. 95% of these were opposed to the bill, which died second reading. This is such a waste of time. Doesn't it seem like it? What else do we have? So here we go. Angela says in the UK, we have the Supreme Court's ruling that a trans woman is still male. Yeah, so all but liberals have agreed with it. The government still hasn't decided to enforce it yet. So I do remember that Supreme Court decision. It was an interesting. So what they said was that women should apply to biological sex. That gender should apply to biological sex. So does that mean that a transgender woman is male? It's certainly what it does is it gets rid of the what is it called, the gender recognition certificate, which there are people who have had these for 20 years, and all of a sudden they're like, ooh, wait a minute, what in the world? Now I'm not a woman anymore. That's pretty stupid. Yes. Margie says Republicans are butthurt about Mamdani. It's really hilarious, I think. I think it's really funny because they're really banging on hard about this guy. So let me see. Anxiety Gardner says the first time around Trump tried to campaign hard for the Virginia governor. So I don't know who that was last time. This time he didn't even endorse the VA governor. Well, I believe that. I mean, his attention just kind of goes everywhere, doesn't it? Like, who the hell, you're never really sure what he's going to talk about next, which is part of what, scares me about him. So let me see. I want to talk next about, oh, here we go. Look, but first I have to pop this up. Margie says the New Zealand private members bill trying to enforce biological sex has died a quiet death. Yes, huzzah. What I like about that, first of all, is that there was an actual bill. Somebody actually said, what, we should maybe ask people what they think about on this, rather than just writing an executive order and going, done. We're done. We're going to redefine science. We're going to redefine, how the way society has worked for a millennium and what the hell. So let's see. Oh, so the Republican, well, wait a minute. So Anxiety Gardner says, the Republican candidate for Virginia governor was Earl Sears. Winsome Earl Sears. She, but last, I guess I'm unsure what you were saying. So when you said first time around, I guess I'm assuming you mean not 2024. If they were up for re-election in 25, but anyway, yes, Winsome Earl Sears was horrid. I'm going to get to her, actually. Thank you, Angela. So Angela says she was one of the first to get a gender recognition certificate. So so if you don't know what this is, in the UK, I think it was 2003, 2004, maybe you correct me, Angela, if I'm wrong. Somewhere in the early 2000s, they passed a law that said if you have gone through a whole lot of transition, you can get a certificate that recognizes your gender legally. So like right now, what I did, I went and changed my birth certificate, I changed my driver's license, changed my passport. As far as, the government's concerned, I was assigned female at birth. The GRC is supposed to be a formal recognition of that. So, for instance, if you look at one of the things that Trump is doing, the Supreme Court just said that, maybe it's constitutional to force people to have a gender on their passport that doesn't align with their gender identity, or even how they look, So the point here is that is a formal non-recognition of gender that a GRC, was. So there you go. So Freibird asks the question, and Angela, you may have to help me out just a little bit. But Freibird asks the question, what about people who haven't medically transitioned? And Angela, I think the answer is you did have to get surgery. I think you have to go all the way through surgery. Is that right? Let me know, and then I'll transfer it over to you, Freibird. So we do want to talk about why conservatives lost. These three races are important. These three races for transgender woman in Pennsylvania, winning a mayor of a town, Abigail Spanberger, governor of Virginia, and then, of course, Zoran Mamdani in New York City. If you look at these three people, you don't see a lot of overlap. The people themselves are very dramatically different. You have a, white transgender woman. You have a white, very run-of-the-mill Democratic cisgender woman, and then you have a young Indian American Muslim. Across the board, pretty much their opponents were better funded. Their opponents, like Winsome Earl Sears, had been like an attorney general. I believe Abigail Spanberger had been in Virginia Congress, but I can't remember exactly what she'd done. But they were better funded. They might have had much more experience. Andrew Cuomo, for instance, versus Zohran Mamdani. And they ran much more campaign ads. So the people are very different. But one thing that their opponents had in common is that they represented old school politics. For instance, Erica DeUso was smeared by anti-transgender ads from Turning Point Action, Pennsylvania. Turning Point. Abigail Spanberger was smeared by Winsome Earl Sears in her anti-transgender ads. Zohran Mamdani was smeared by Trump himself. Trump threatens to hold back funds if Mamdani was elected. It'll be interesting in seeing where that goes. And Trump has attacked Mamdani's stance on transgender and queer rights. Hey, Shakespeare. Other than Mamdani, who has really only said that he supports and loves all people, none of the candidates ran on a platform of pro-transgender rights. Why in the ever-living hell were they being attacked with anti-transgender ads and rhetoric? In the end, here's my guess, because it seemed to work in 2024 for Trump. Or at least this is what Trump has claimed worked. And other conservatives seem to agree that's why it worked. You even have Democrats who stated openly they need to abandon transgender people if they want to win. This is what politicians seems to understand, or seems to believe. But what the three candidates have in common is that they focused on the economy. They focused on how the government affected the voters. They listened to the problems that people are facing. They offered to solve them. In other words, they did this crazy thing called they offered to represent the people if elected. They didn't stump for their party, they stumped for their constituency. And as stupid as this sounds, that's what an elected representative is supposed to do. This is literally their job. It's what they're supposed to do. And yet, you've got politicians, you've got Trump, you've got other Republicans, you've got other Democrats who are starting to believe their own PR. Politicians have now become only a vehicle for their party line. They're totally unconcerned for the people they're supposed to represent. And I don't think there's any better way to show this, to demonstrate this, than to talk about how Trump was making these goo-goo eyes about the gold fucking toilets that are going to be in his new White House ballroom in the same conversations where he's saying he refuses to fund SNAP benefits. He's talking about his gold toilets while leaving people without food. I mean, voters did not vote against conservative candidates because suddenly everybody loves the transgender community. People voted against conservative candidates who used the same tired campaign that Trump used last year. Does this mean that people suddenly support the transgender community after seeing Trump attack it? No. But I'm going to get there. Let me look at some comments. No, it's also 2:20, so let me do my station identification. I'm Dr. Amethyst Herrick. I talk about identity and gender from a scientific standpoint. Today I'm talking about what the 2025 elections here in the United States really show. All right, let me go on. Let me see. Oh boy. Oh my goodness, I cannot keep this thing from moving. Why? Let me see. The Republican governor, so sorry. So Anxiety Gardner, you're saying last time the Republican candidate for governor was also Winsome Earl Sears. I didn't know. Okay. Last time Trump was president. Okay, it was a rebuke of him then. Okay, understood. Thank you. So Angela, did you ever say what happened? So, my goodness, there's too many comments for me. I'm getting overwhelmed already. Um, First of all, let me actually say this, because Margie says, Angela, such a pioneer. Hats off to you. Total respect for our trans elders. Good point. Definitely agree with you there. Let me see. So Margie also says she could very easily change her birth certificate and passport. The system is greatly revamped in June 2023. That's good. I'm really sort of surprised that this is such a thing for what it's worth. So, Frybird, here's your answer. What about people who haven't medically transitioned? At least at that time, you had to have the surgery or be due to take it, and you had to have lived in your preferred gender for 2 years. So that's a significant amount of. So I think that means social transition as well, if I remember correctly. So. The gold fucking toilet is a perfect description of Trump himself. It'll be funny. Okay, so Anxiety Gardner is saying Spanberger was a former. Oh yes, true. She was a former CIA. She was in CIA and law enforcement before that. Yeah, she's yeah. Anxiety Gardner then goes on to say she's going to be really good for Virginia. So Virginia is super rural. So good point. Super rural. It's interesting. There are only a couple of cities that are. If you look at a electoral map, is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But if you look at all the counties and how they vote, there are like two counties in Virginia that are blue, and the rest of it's red. It's like a couple of cities. So there you go. Hi, Tyvon Khan. Was there something else? There was one more comment. Oh, here we go. So sorry. Oh, wait. So Angela, you were able to get a new passport before getting the gender recognition certificate. Oh, that's fascinating. Oh, with a letter from your psychiatrist. Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing you. All right. So I talked about why conservatives lost. They ran campaigns that appeared to work in 2024 and amazingly didn't work this time. Why is this? Well, it turns out it's still the economy, stupid. Voters voted for people who addressed what concerned them. There's a recent Gallup poll that shows, so there were 22 issues that were talked about in this Gallup poll. So I don't know how many people were in this poll, but a lot. Let's just say probably thousands. And there were 22 issues that the government could address. And so they said, what do you care about? Rank these, how much do you care about these things? Of those 22, which this Gallup poll came out recently, last few months, maybe last few weeks, something like 18% were cared about gender at all. It came in dead last. Really, really, really dead last. Overwhelmingly, people were concerned about the economy. Globally, people can see uncertainty in their grocery bill. They can see car prices rising. They're finding it more difficult to buy a house. They're worried about how to pay for food, how to pay for health care. And general people are seeing their friends and their families struggling as well. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this, but when you're worried about whether you're going to eat next week, you probably don't give a flying fuck about whether I'm wearing a skirt right now. I'm taking a guess. What's crazy is that this was the exact same as last year. Donald Trump won, at least in part, because people thought he'd be good for the economy. There's some comedy in that, because Biden sort of inherited this failing economy from Trump. So, it's a little bit of comedy in that. But Trump won in part because people thought he'd be good for the economy. Once again, Gallup poll shows that people were concerned about that. And after many millions of dollars from the Trump campaign fund, after many millions in anti-trans ads, That was a fraction of voters' concerns. Truly a fraction. But conservatives only saw the major messages from the campaigns. Liberals only saw the major messages from the campaigns. And apparently, politicians are the only ones out there who believe political campaigns. It stuns me to think that these people could not know what we want. If you don't know what you want, here's an idea. Ask us. Why do we have to have Gallup polls? Why don't we have politicians going, hey, what do you want? What's going wrong in your life? I mean, just ask us. But if you're going to bang on about something absolutely unimportant, here's a news flash. We're not going to vote for you. Blows my mind. This is not me. None of this is a surprise. When I've seen, hi Minnie, when I have seen, people, Democrats even going, oh, we're going to have to abandon transgender people. We are absolutely losing, ground here. And it's no. How about if you just worry about whether or not people are going to afford food and health care? I know this sounds dumb. I know I sound naive. It is not a like rocket science kind of thing here. I think it was James Carville was the one who coined the phrase "it's the economy, stupid," and Bill Clinton. And I was not a fan of him. Did not vote for him either time. So I voted for Ross Perot. Anyway, the point here is that. He had it as like a plaque on his wall. It's the economy, stupid. It's very true. People care about whether they can buy things. It's how it works. Frybird says the results of the Gallup poll galloped away from them. Very true. Okay, so hang on. So now Anxiety Gardener is saying that, what's their name? Oh, Spanberger is the establishment choice that could appeal to enough Republicans. Yeah. I'm sure that's true. She also, again, talked a lot about economy. So, let me see. So also, apparently Earl Sears didn't think firing people for their sexuality was discrimination. Actually, yeah, that is protected. Under the 14th Amendment, and of course, the Civil Rights Act now of 1965, there was actually a Supreme Court decision around that. But Frybird says at 85, it's hard to get out after 5 p.m. Oh, Minnie, thank you for sending a gift. Very true. Nancy Pelosi is what is it called? She's retiring. She's 85. She gave a speech, and I swear I'm looking at the lady. I'm like, I'm amazed. I'm amazed like you got out of bed. Minnie says Matt is a fan of banging on. I was talking about something else. That was oh boy, I love that. Wait, was it Anxiety Gardener? Winsome Earl Sears said that during the debate? Oh my gosh, that really oh, that's a bummer. Oh, that's a shame. Minnie says she's 40 and ready to retire. Oh, babe, I'm with you. So is Frybird. That's stunning. How tone deaf do you have to get? See, that's the question I've got to ask. How tone deaf do you have to get? How unaware of how a government works? How unaware of so many, just decades of politics? How unaware do you have to be in order to say some of these stupid things? Minnie says when she pops in, she's going to say goofy things. The best thing is that I read them. Right? That's why they become canon. They become saved for posterity. What else do we have here? Margie said, oh my goodness. Oh, this, I hate the words. I mean, the thing is that's partly true. Kaiser Permanente sure made certain that her dad's cancer was Permanente. Single payer health care. I gotta tell you, like, if you were to ask me 10 years ago, it would have been like, I'm not really sure about that. In 10 years, wow, the U.S. has become vastly more expensive and ineffective than any other developed nation. This is fully true. The healthcare system here in the U.S. is aimed at literally nothing but maximizing insurance profits. This is all from Margie. What hurts here is that I got it was demonstrated to me when I went to Thailand for healthcare, and it was phenomenal. And I'm like, well, this is like a weird third world country. How is this supposed to give me good? Because I actually, there's actual competition and whatever else. It's like, they gave a damn about me. And I went, I didn't realize there were doctors who do that. There you go. Amazing. Who would think? Okay, let me see. I've been going on and on. I didn't have a lot of organization in this set of notes here, really, but the last thing that I want to talk about here is just how change happens. I've been watching U.S. politics now for about 40 years. Yeah, it was, a little more. So like 45 years. So since the Reagan administration, have I been, somewhat aware of some of these things. U.S. politics has, at least in my observation, and actually you can look at history, this is not like just an opinion, but U.S. politics is one big, huge pendulum. You will see a vote go one way, and then you'll see the vote go the other way, and it's almost predictable. Very infrequently do you have more than 8 years of one political party over about the last century. Maybe it's a little more. The vote just swings back and forth. And I don't think that this is because any of the voters truly believes the other sides are going to fix the problem. But when you've had 8 years of one political party, you have somebody right in front of you. You can blame that person. It's really easy. It looks like our attention span is shortened now, right? We had Trump and then Biden and now Trump, and I'm almost certain we're going to have a Democrat next. So our attention span has shortened. But when you have somebody to blame right in front of you, just, if your memory is kind of short, you don't remember that the last guy didn't solve the problems either, that's what happens. So the vote goes back and forth, swinging back and forth. The problem, ultimately, is not the political parties. The problem, ultimately, is how politics gets done. Because you have politicians who focus not on people, but on the government. And politics needs to focus on the people, not the government. At the end of... Frybird says U.S. politics should be one big guillotine. I'm sort of surprised people have not started erecting a guillotine. Now that I've used the word erecting, I'm waiting to see what Minnie writes into the comments, because I'm sure I'll give it a little time. When it comes down to this, none of us is a political statement. Almost every single one of us. Jeez. I said erected, and now Minnie has said we can't afford the wood. Jeez. All right. None of us is a political statement. Every single one of us wants to live in peace. This is globally. Whether you're cisgender, heterosexual, gay, lesbian, transgender, pansexual, white, black, brown, Asian, doesn't make a difference. Being who you are is not a political statement. It's just a statement of fact. It's just who you are. And frankly, if you have the luxury to be concerned about whether somebody's peace is ethical, listen to me, you're in the minority. You are not one of those people who is going to vote for lower health care costs. You are not one of those people who's going to vote for lower food costs. Those costs must not bother you the way they bother the rest of us. If you are a voter or a politician foolish enough to believe that most of us don't vote with our pocketbooks, we can do without you. And that's what this election showed. And it just struck me. I used the word pocketbook like everybody's going to know what that is. It's like a 1920s sort of word for a wallet, but it sounded fun. I felt like Nora Charles all of a sudden. Nikki, where did I leave my pocketbook? Oh, here you go, darling. It's fun. Let me see. Hi, Peggy Butler. What do we have here? Angela brings up the UK National Health Service may not be perfect, but at least it is mostly free. So I'm going to say, right, I mean, there are people in Scotland now who could conceivably wait 200 years, to get gender affirming care. That obviously could stand some work, but I know how many political obstacles stand in the way. It's not just about, people getting health care. It's about politicians saying, well, I don't want this particular health care to be covered because I don't like that. I don't like that kind of health care. Let me see. What do we... Frybird says she bought a guillotine from Temu. It's not here yet. Well, shipping, it's very, very expensive, Frybird says, with the new tariffs. It's terrible. And now Freibert's making fun of me, saying, let me get my silver dollar out of my pocketbook. Really, I think you'd be looking for a nickel. Let me get my nickel. Let me get a nickel out of my pocketbook here. Anyway, this election showed that we continue to vote with our pocketbooks, and we get rid of the people who demonstrate to us that they're not going to help it. So how do we get real change? The way that we get... Frybird says she's rich in silver dollars. Okay, that's good. Real change will only come about when politicians stop talking only about their party. It's not Republicans and Democrats that make... it's not the Republican Party, the Democratic Party that makes change. A party doesn't make change. People in the party make change. People in the party are the ones who make the platforms that they're going to run on. A political party doesn't run for office either. At the end, we don't need new political parties. Could we stand a better way to vote? I'm not going to debate that. Absolutely not. A third party might be very useful for the United States. The way the Electoral College works, unfortunately, right, you get a majority... majority, and you've gotten those electoral votes. We'd have to change that, I guess, at least to a plurality. So there are things that we'd have to consider if we have more than one or more than two political parties. So could we stand a better way to vote? Yes, but I don't think we need new political parties. What we need are people who are even capable of perceiving what goes on in the majority of not just American households, but global households. Change ultimately is going to come. Now Freibird's saying the DJ makes the party. Actually, I think that's true. What we need to do is bring Paul Van Dyke. We'll get Paul Van Dyke into the White House. Right? He'll have one thing going. Something will be great. Anyway. This is why you come and show up here, right? So that I can sing Paul Van Dyke songs. Change will come only when we demand that our politicians be held accountable. They should do what we need them to do. And if they're not going to, I'm going to say this. We are to expose them, we are to humiliate them, we are to impeach them, or we are to vote them out. That's how we make lasting change. We need people who are going to value country and people over politics and party. Period. I interviewed a guy. He's running for Senate in Alabama. His name is Dakari Lariat. If you're at the Dakari, hi. He was delightful. He is so like every person, like so much of an every person. He is gay. He is black. He's running as a Democratic senator for Alabama. He believes strongly in religion and guns and low health care costs. And I mean, he's everybody. He's like, listen, all of the things, I believe in all of the things. And you know what? That's actually what America is. There was a country once gave us this statue. It's a little bigger than this. And that statue called out how amazing the United States was for being this melting pot. This melting pot of people, not a white Christian nationalist country. We were actually lauded at one point for being the place in the world where anybody could come and anybody could be accepted. And what the fuck happened? What happened is that we have people who put politics and party over the country. Get rid of these people. I don't think that these elections showed anything other than Americans continue to do what Americans do, which is worry about how we're going to pay for things, worry about how we're going to make it through the next week, and not whether I'm wearing a skirt. Nobody cares. Frybird says she has a question. I want to hear it. Oh, Frybird also says she doesn't want to see him exposed. How about if we expose their crimes? That's more what I meant. Give me 1 second here, Frybird. Actually, I'll go ahead and hit these. So let's see. So Frybird asks, do I think that the Conservatives drained the contingency SNAP funds already? I got to tell you, I don't know. I know I saw somewhere that there was something like $6 billion in contingency funds. I think it was $6 billion that the USDA held. And if I remember correctly, SNAP benefits cost about $8 billion a month for everybody. Which, by the way, if you're not aware of this, so SNAP is supplemental, what is this? Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program? I don't know. I think so. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It is not the same as just getting free food. There are actually, it is nutrition assistance, you see. A significant proportion of the people who receive SNAP benefits also have jobs. They are actually getting SNAP benefits in addition to that because their job doesn't cover the like food. They have to choose between like rent and food. So anyway, so Frybird asked, do I think they drained the funds already? The funny thing, so Frybird says they're fighting so hard not to release even half of it. Yes. Over the weekend, Trump hit up the Supreme Court to stop the help. Yeah. I don't know if they've already spent that. I know that Trump said he had a private donor who would pay military salaries for a month, until the U.S. was back on its feet, as it were, and so I don't know. I mean, it's not like this money doesn't exist, right? I mean, you have the entire United States. The government doesn't make money. Right, the government. Well, I mean, they mint money, I suppose, and print it, but they collect taxes. That's where this money comes from. So, did they spend it? Maybe. Wouldn't surprise me. But it is fascinating to see a president, because that Supreme Court thing. I read an article about it. Quick story here. So Trump went to the Supreme Court and he's saying this SNAP thing is a matter of emergency. And the emergency clause in however the law goes, you invoke that when taking an action would be harmful to the government. What Trump has said, he's used this this idea of emergency actions to deny not to pay SNAP for SNAP benefits. So this is something that was already existing, already going on. And he's saying it would cause undue hurt to the government for people to eat. And so it would be better to leave people without food than to damage whatever the hell he thinks damage would be done to the government. I admit, I am speechless that there could be a president who would willingly make people suffer. I'm just going to put a period there. Like, what in the world? How in the world did that happen? Minnie says that Trump is a big fan of spending money on ice cream. Certainly ice. What do we have over here? So Margie says, so here the DJ does run the party. What was it? Makes the party? Yeah. Margie says she once saw Pete Tong DJing in a tiny club in Vancouver. I wish I knew who Pete Tong is, but that was pretty sweet. Oh, so here we go. Genevieve says, "Oh, right, you are on the wait list. That's right. I remember you saying that." Um, so here we go. Here's some statistics from Angela here. So people in the UK may have to wait up to 5 to 10 years to get seen for the first time. So Angela was lucky in 1990 that she could afford to see the psychiatrist privately. But the NHS did pay for SRS in 2 years. Well, that's not bad, actually. What else do we have here? Oh my goodness. So Margie says typical waiting time in New Zealand is 10 years for an orchiectomy. Zoinks. Because that's not even like a stay in the hospital for a long time. Yeah, I'm going to pop this up because Margie's celebration this week was not the election, but rather filling a C-cup bra. That's pretty fun. Let's see. So Margie's going to buy a D-cup bra for Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Don't go and ho it up. Just, oh, that's a Santa Claus reference. Oh. Right. A Santa Claus reference, sorry. Frybird, an orchiectomy. An orchiectomy is removal of the testicles. So it's not full gender affirming surgery. Well, what we would consider, it's not like a full vaginoplasty, but it is removing the testicles. That was something Jasmine got, actually. Jasmine Vine. Man, it's been probably eight or 9 months since that happened. I need to ask her how that's going. But usually you do that kind of thing if because it's much easier than taking like an anti-androgen, something that prevents you from absorbing testosterone. So, all right, what else do we have? He was on the squad. Wait, what? Frybird says she ran into a guy-looking cop on her street and went full white lady on him because he I don't even know. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe I shouldn't have read the read the thing. I feel silly. Brenda just got here. Hi, Brenda. Good to see you. I'm going to pop this up because it's really very true. Margie says that the U.S. government is claiming there's no money so that people can eat food, but they do have $40 billion for Venezuela. It's a good question. I think it's a good question. Where does this money come from? The thing is that, once again, I think what we're looking at is, I know, I have to read the line afterward, Frybird. He was for the school pickup line, was the cop. But anyway, the point is that, there's $40 billion. Oh, wait, you're right. Sorry. Frybird says Argentina. Is it $40 billion for Argentina? Was Venezuela where he was declaring war? Like, you can't even keep track of what this guy's doing. I have no idea. But there's $40 billion. There's plenty of money for ridiculous things. And, this is what I think Trump is doing. He's going, listen, I've got an opportunity to look like a big man. I don't really care what happened to the people in the country who elected me so that I can feel like a big man. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Why would the government exist? The government exists for the people who elected these people. Oh my gosh. All right, Margie, good luck at the doctor. Margie's off to a doctor's appointment, so good luck there. I hope all goes well. Brenda brings up, and I like this, hoeing it up can be fun, especially watching transphobes when they don't think I can see. Oh, that's good. I like that. I try somewhat hard to be demure. I mean, not including hair, I suppose, but try kind of hard to be demure. So, all right, let's see. It's almost 3:00. I got 2:54. I really talked myself out on this election thing. It was not. What was so dumb about this election is that it was absolutely the same as always. That's what I think was so funny. And so there you go. But I'm going to take a 5-minute break, Frybird. I'm coming back. So yeah, 5 minutes, and then we'll do some of the game. I don't know. I like the game. I really want to see what's happening. Kind of the point here now that it's, I almost don't want to do it without Margie here because I feel like this is going to end soon. I looked this up. I think I said I looked this up. The normal time that it would take to play this Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is like eight hours or something like that. I think we're at about 11. I'm always a little bit slow, but like I'm already going, what did we do wrong? So maybe it's not wrong. Okay, gonna take a 5 minute break and I'll be back. I swear it.